Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Celebrate the Arts awards ceremony. We're so thankful that you are all here tonight and joining us for the celebration. My name is Terry Thies, and I am the Youth Program Manager at Parkland College Community Education. And I am joined here also tonight by Lisa Costello, who is the Director of the Gertz Art Gallery. We are coming live to you from the gallery, and we're just thrilled to be able to join you tonight and share with you a presentation about all of the wonderful art that we've been able to look at over the last few weeks as you've been submitting your entries. Our plan for this evening is very simple. We want to celebrate you and your wonderful artistic talents. I have to say that we were quite impressed with all of your artwork. So for all of you students out there who are joining us tonight, thank you so much for participating. We were really in awe and inspired by what you've submitted, and there is a lot of talent out there that we saw from everything that you all submitted. I have to say that I really felt very uplifted after viewing all of your artwork. So thank you so much for joining us and participating in the competition. We had just over 80 students submit entries this year, with about 130 actual entries this year. So it was a tough job for our judges that Lisa will tell you about a little bit in a minute. But most importantly, we wanted to, like I said, thank you for joining us. We have felt that during the last few years, during the pandemic, that it's very important for us to help the youth of our community to stay engaged in the arts. And we have found that this art competition is a wonderful way to do that. So again, we thank you for joining us. We're so glad that you have parents and guardians and teachers who supported you and helped you to submit your entries. So if you haven't thanked them already, please do, especially to those art teachers out there who have encouraged you to pursue your artistic talents. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Lisa Costello, the Director of the Gertz Art Gallery, and she will tell you a little bit more about how the evening will progress. Lisa?
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. I wanted to thank everyone for being here and joining us, and congratulations to all of the artists in the crowd. I'm delighted to be here, and it is so incredible to see all of the artwork that was submitted. There was an overwhelming turnout. All of you should be very proud of yourselves and give yourselves a pat on the back. It's amazing work that's happening here in Champaign County and the surrounding area. So we're really delighted. We've got a great show for you tonight, and we're going to announce the awards. We've got some really amazing awards given, some are the College for Kids Camp or Summer Discovery Camp through Community Education. And we also have some art supplies provided by Dick Blick and some other giveaways. So I'd like to thank Dick Blick and Community Education and the Parkland Bookstore for all of the awards that they provided. For the people tuning in online here tonight, I just wanted to let you know that we can't hear you or see you. So you can relax and enjoy the event. We are also documenting this, and we will have a recording on our Gertz Gallery website in about a week or so. I will also send it out through our email blast, and we will have it a catalog. The catalog actually might just be posted on our website in just a second. So visit our website, and that'll include the entire show, all of the work. You can share that with grandparents and other family members. So terrific. We're really looking forward to that. A few announcements about our upcoming events. We have an artist reception for Better Angels, work by Stephen Hudson, coming up, and that's this Thursday, March 10th at 5:30 to 7:30. It was canceled due to snow, but we're really excited to have it happening this week when the weather is much better. And we're going to have live music by the Cobra Lounge Trio, which is some of our faculty in the jazz department. And then we also, Steve will speak briefly about his artwork at 6:15 p.m. And then the exhibition runs through March 29th. But just remember, take your time, come see the show if you haven't already. But just remember that we'll be closed for spring break, and that'll be from March 12th through the 20th. And then you'll have about a week and a half to see it then. I also wanted to mention that we have our upcoming 54th Juried Student Art and Design exhibition, and that includes work by our art and design students here at Parkland College. There is a huge number of artworks produced by our students, and it represents all types of classes that we have here at Parkland College. And that includes ceramics, drawing, painting, figure drawing, sculpture, three-dimensional design, graphic design and illustration, two-dimensional design, metalsmithing and jewelry design, photography, and digital art. So I hope many of the artists here tonight will come and visit and see that student show. Let's see. So before we get started, I'd like to thank our donors for their wonderful support. I'd also like to thank the Gertz Gallery Advisory Board, the Parkland College Administration for their support, as well as Donna Gertz, for whom the gallery is named, and her husband, Fred. I would be remiss not to mention how thankful we are to the Illinois Arts Council, a state agency, for their continued support that we receive through grant funding. We couldn't do it without them, and it allows us to do events like these that are free and open to the public. I'd also like to thank Cindy Smith. She's our tech guru here this evening, and she's been a wonder helping us with everything, as well as Terry Tice, of course, who's terrific, and I've really enjoyed working with her on this exhibition, and she's from Community Ed, as well as Karen Kambe, a student worker who helped us download all of those images that were submitted. So she had a big job too, so I wanted to thank her as well. So finally, I'd like to thank our wonderful judges who are so hard and who worked so hard and deliberated for a very long time about which works to receive that would receive awards. The entries were judged by Tanya Scott and Matthew Watt, and Tanya Scott is a curator of education at the University Galleries at Illinois State University in Bloomington, so just about 45 minutes away from here. And then Matthew Watt, who is a professor here at Parkland College in art and design. So I did end up recording them because there was a scheduling conflict with them. So we recorded it in advance. So I'm going to play what they have to say to you. And once again, thank you so much, everyone, for participating. The work was incredible, and it was really a joy to put this together. So I know you're excited, as I am, to hear about what's been selected.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us to be a part of this. It was really wonderful to get to see what students are doing in the area and getting to engage in this way. So I appreciate it.
So how about we'll get started, and we are going to highlight some of the work from the exhibition. And when we talk about this, we'll be talking about work that received recognition for awards or honorable mention. However, I would like to state that for everyone who participated, thank you very much, and I was very impressed with the work, and very, very happy to participate. And I would encourage all of you to continue to create visual art, continue to learn, and continue to share your work with people in your lives, and to continue to also contribute to opportunities like this to exhibit your work. So how about we'll go and we'll talk about the age category of 7 to 10 years first, and perhaps I'll let Tanya start.
That's great. Wonderful. So the first place awardee is Emma Lon for Rooster and Hen Family. I was really impressed with the brush strokes that are present in this piece, and that it really felt almost like a tapestry or an embroidery, and something that could be like passed down. I also really enjoyed the compositional choices and the repetition of like the vertical lines of the rooster and hen's legs that like mirror the vertical lines in the background, and how your eye is drawn through the image from the bottom left up to the upper right and then back down and around again.
Yeah, very nicely done. There's a little element of surprise almost in this, and I suppose it's kind of like the way the rooster seems to gaze at the hen. And if you line those two up, and then you line the black baby chicken, I guess that's what we'll call it. And I didn't know baby chickens were black, but it is a black figure there. They create an interesting diagonal line between those two. And I now see a yellow one as well that aligns with the hen's head and gaze. So that's really interesting there. How about, yeah, okay, great. So this, by faith, is called A Rainy Day. and it says painting. I believe it's probably acrylic paint. That's what it looks like to me. But there's some watery. So a lot of that paint is really watery and loose. It could also be gouache. It's not completely watercolor though, because the paint looks opaque. But if you look in the clouds and the storms, we'll see, how that wet on wet or technique kind of created some bleeding in the clouds and gives you that kind of interesting textural effect. And if you look down at the landscape in the foreground, being lighter, and then the landscape in the background, you kind of see some visual planes there. There's actually even some atmospheric perspective there in the distance. When we look off into the hills in the distance, they fade out and get lighter. And we get to look through this kind of stormy, rainy sky. It's kind of a veil in front of us, looking at the landscape behind it. So nice color, nice mood. The way the temperature and saturation of colors really control that. So it's quite nice.
So Max's Bear and the Girl, I was really drawn to the really like delicate and intentional line work in this drawing, and the body language of the figures, and just the subtleties that were present within the details of the piece.
So Avery's, I guess, collage here with paper involves, it's more than just a two-dimensional artwork. It's kind of relief, right? So there's three-dimensional aspects in the way she folded over the paper, and that creates, the play of light creates cast shadows on the work. And so she has these flowers, and she draws this bird who's looking at us, peering out at us. The wings are spread, like this bird is kind of flying in and going to land in the flowers, perhaps, or flying by the flowers. So a good deal of fun. In the bottom, right, we see all these aligned stems that hold up the flowers. So a lot of fun. And also just this kind of exuberant color that happens in the image.
Walker's piece, Mountaintop, I was really drawn to the brushstrokes and how expressive they are in this piece, and the abstraction that's present in the representation of this landscape.
Yeah, right. I agree. Like the sun being so close to the land is interesting. So also, one of the great things about looking at art, and often when students and people are younger, there is this inhibition to be, to have fun and to play and to use bold strokes and bold color. And that makes the work so endearing to parents and teachers. And I would be one of those kinds of people. I love to look at art by younger people, and this is perfect. I'm also a cat lover. I own 2 cats, and I like, every once in a while there are cats that do have different colored eyes, and it can happen in people as well, but it's quite unusual. So that's the first thing that I noticed about this cat, is that it has a green and a blue eye, and if it is possible that happens. Of course, I don't think she's using color to really describe the cat realistically. She's using color to enjoy color, just for the sake of enjoying color. And the brushstrokes too are very bold and gestural and exciting and fun. So for that reason, I was drawn to this painting. I think we both were, I would say.
Yes. Chloe's Under the Full Moon really stood out to me, especially that this is supposed to be about a time of praying and sending wishes out under the full moon during Korea's Harvest Moon Festival. And the moon is just so beautifully emphasized in this piece, and that there's all of this detail in the craters of the moon, and it's so bright, like feels like it's shining. And the reference to the top of the building here gives you kind of connects the moon to the people that live underneath it. I just thought this was beautiful.
And so Adela's A Sunset of Feelings is really also, again, enjoyable for the bold use of color and simple use of shapes. When we look at a landscape in real life, of course, it's really, really complicated. It has all kinds of textures and all kinds of shapes and edges and forms and values. And this vision of a landscape distilled into one simple statement in a few geometric shapes, it looks really interesting and fun. And yet there still is texture there from the strokes and the marks that are made.
And I felt like this piece, I felt like this piece had almost like a design quality for like a logo or something that was, again, like distilling these ideas down into forms that were recognizable and would really like grab the viewer's attention. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the great things about modern art of the 20th century was that you can see many examples of landscapes and natural forms and natural settings that are abstracted, and they become kind of geometric and simple, and the use of bold colors. And, they're really, really enjoyable to be around, to stand next to. And I would put this one is definitely, it's going to lighten my mood if I see it. It's going to remind me of feeling happy in the landscape. And so I think that's what this is about. You can go on now, Lisa. Sorry.
April's the classic of mountains and seas. Dijon, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I personally was incredibly drawn to the expressive lines in this through the drawing, and I'm not sure if this is crayon or oil pastels or maybe colored pencil, but it looks more like a crayon or oil pastel, and it's so expressive, and that they're the single colors. The colors don't really overlap, but I like that the flatness of that, but that the textures create a lot of movement and energy in the piece. And I was really drawn to the choice to break free in the upper left-hand corner from the borders of the picture plane, suggesting like this being a narrative piece of kind of a mythological landscape, and that story expanding beyond its borders and its boundaries. I thought was really wonderful for kind of like a metaphor for it coming out into the world and existing beyond the image.
Yeah, I'm the father of a 10-year-old boy, so I understand where this came from. He is, of course, a big Marvel fan, and so I've seen the film Shang-Chi, and so I recognize what the subject matter is. So, but well done. Oh, I think, okay, so we'll look at the age category, 11 to 13 years, and this would put us in the middle school years. So we both chose this as the first place, this ceramics work, Blueberry Pie. And it is, it's interesting when we have a subject matter that is really kind of, well, I want to say common or maybe even mundane. A lot of people, when they think of sculpture, they might think of a bust or a figure on a horse or something like that. And then you come across something as mundane as food, the things that we eat, and you make a sculpture out of it. And it really focuses our attention on the everyday. And what kind of experience you can have in the other day, how blueberry pie can actually be really quite beautiful and delicious and all of that. So I like the subject matter. I think it's fun. And also the rendering of the blueberry pie with the color. I know you probably painted this with acrylic paint. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah, it makes it look a lot of fun.
Lily's Pink Dream really stood out in the gradient of the colors, from this kind of deeper purple up through the softer pink, and these stylistic clouds that feel almost like decals or stickers, or that they could even have been silk screened even though they were painted on. And Matthew, would you like to add anything to that one?
Sure. Yeah. So I think there's another little bit of an element of surprise in this, in the way that kind of a common everyday theme, like, clouds in the sky, is presented in a unique or original way. So certainly this isn't a realistic painting. The sky is, at least to my knowledge, blue, not magenta. And so I think it's a real imaginative work of art. And also, I do appreciate the way the brushstrokes align to create these bands, these horizontal bands across the page that kind of, the clouds kind of sit in them or on top of them or in front of them. So nice work, Lily. Thank you.
Irene's, for third place, we have Irene's Eco Business Park, and we were both really drawn to the attention to eco-friendly design and the use of the space. I really enjoyed the repetition of circles and really clear attention to the layout of the space.
Yeah, and I was impressed that a person in middle school is thinking about design. It's not common. Most of the things that middle schoolers do in art classes in school are related to kind of like expressing themselves in the realm of fine art. It's nice to see that a student, between 11 and 13 is considering, design and serious design, like how do we build, cityscapes or park design or something like that. So keep up at it. I'm glad you have this interest. I hope you continue to explore it. It could turn into a very wonderful career for you.
Matthew Gray's Falcon is one of our first honorable mentions in this category. I was really drawn to the naturalistic quality of this sculpture. It felt almost like a mummified bird that had been found, or it just felt very real. And I appreciated the use of the materials in this piece.
So Adrian's Procreate drawing, painting here. And that Procreate is a is a tool that allows us to draw and paint in the iPad, and it is a real wonderful program. I use it myself quite a bit, and it's the closest thing to drawing on paper. Of course, you have the benefit of having that versatility to do and redo many things. And so, what an interesting figure this is. Roses and plants and mushrooms seem to grow out of the body. And the figure is both flesh and blood and skeleton underneath, kind of a very surreal image with a nice kind of gradient behind it. Lots of interesting things, curious things going on in this painting.
I would love to add that I was interested in this piece for the metaphorical quality of thinking about life out of death and the relationship between our bodies and nature. So I wanted to include that as well.
Oh yeah, like mushrooms grow on a deciduous tree once it's fallen. Okay, right. Yeah, and then there is also the idea of somewhat disturbing mushrooms growing out of your body, I suppose. Yeah, there's kind of a drama, a horror element to it.
Yeah, and this kind of feeds right in. Yeah.
Yeah. So here, Kyla in her ceramic sculpture, worm in an apple, and this worm is. It's coming out of an apple core. Well, that's never something you want to see, right? Because that suggests that you've eaten the apple already, only to find that there's the worm in it. Hopefully you see that before you take a bite of it. But I appreciate that. And the humor in it is fun.
Addison's cat conversation photograph, I found to be a really interesting framing of these two cats, and that they're almost monumental in scale due to the choice of the angle and the framing of them and the cropping of the image. That they really do feel like they've been caught in the middle of a conversation. And I feel like this image is just ready to be a meme and to have like a variety of different interpretations of what these two cats could be talking about.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to the third age category, 14 to 18 years. And this puts us, I guess in the high school years. So first place we gave to Sylvie, and she had given us two paintings to look at, both of which were really quite remarkable. In how they exhibited her skill with painting in the technique and the materials of paint is quite nice. And there is a story behind this, right? And this is her adopted mother looking at images of the location where the artist was found as an infant in China. And so, and the other one was related to that same kind of biographical information. Some of the things that I like about this image, and it may be the level, what's abstract about the image is the shadow of the light and the color of the shadow of the light, and how gray turns to this cerulean blue in the background. I thought that was really interesting. And then how it's tied into the same color within the lampshade, the kind of Tiffany lampshade that we see. It's both interesting in how it's kind of simplified in some respects in the background, and in how it's so detailed. Like if we look at the caning in the chair, and even the pattern on the chair, and the pattern in the woman's clothing that she wears. Lots of interesting things going on about the language of paint. This does look like oil paint to me. It doesn't look like acrylic, but I could be wrong. But nice work, Sylvie. Very nicely done.
Tracy's Yellow Girls painting, we both were really drawn to this piece of not only the skill and application of the medium, but also the subject matter and content of the work, of really wanting to highlight features that are either stereotyped or looked down, maybe not looked down upon, that might not be the right way, but how in the statement they're saying that Asian people are insulted for their yellow skin, slanted eyes, flat nose, etc., and that those are really the focus of the piece to emphasize the beauty of these features.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that certainly art is a tool for people of all ages, not just young people, but to process difficult things, and certainly young people growing up. When you're really young, you think, oh, this world is a great place. And then as you come of age and you're an adolescent, you find out, actually, no, there's real definite problems in the world. And so we see here Tracy is coming to terms with racism, and especially in the last few years, how it seems to have come to the forefront more than previous to that. And so here she's processing those difficult feelings and turning it into really a great aesthetic experience. And one of the other interesting things, unrelated to the subject matter, but what I found interesting about this, and that maybe a lot of other folks would overlook, is the negative space, the whiteness between the two girls. If you look at it, it starts to become positive. It's a positive negative reversal thing, right? Where the figure and the ground are shifting. So if you look at the white space in between the two girls, it starts to come forward. And it's really incredibly bright white, like titanium white right out of the tube. And I thought that must play a metaphorical role in the image. Like, why do we? It's only the facial features of what we think of as minorities in the United States are only defined when they're that way when compared to the whiteness of a majority. And so I thought that's probably what she was getting at. And it seems like that message is really kind of a complicated message for a young person, actually. So I would say that this person is kind of dealing with a mature issue in a more mature way. And so, yeah, good for you, Tracy. Keep it up. Keep exploring your ideas and your feelings in painting, because you're making things that are really quite beautiful from doing that.
Amelia's 211 painting depicting their sister's 15th birthday and examining the effects of light and color, especially on fabric. And I think that they've done this very beautifully. The candles really illuminate the space around them. And I find the framing of this image to be really interesting. It really draws the viewer specifically to the cake and to the light, emphasizing its importance in the painting.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It is about light. And, I know that Amelia had given us another image, a drawing of a girl on the phone, and the light from the phone was illuminating her face. And so in both cases, in this painting and in the drawing, the subject matter seemed to be figures, but the content was about light. And so, yeah, that was quite nice.
Honor is Peace Implied World, this collage of images that she had taken and manipulated in this way to create this but somewhat believable but completely implausible space is really wonderful. And I personally enjoyed that the interior or suggested interior that is also exterior due to the lack of roof is in color, and the exterior is in black and white. And oftentimes I see that reversed of like what is happening inside is in black and white and exterior is in color. So it's interesting to think about. I'm curious. I would love to learn about the choice of that and like why the interior was in color and what might be happening in that space to emphasize it apart from the outside space.
Yeah, definitely. I think and I get from what she wrote, Honora, what she wrote was, she's interested in not just, photography from the camera, but combining and collaging different photographs. Yeah, so keep it up, keep continuing this exploration of what you're doing. I think it's good. So this is Grace's photograph, she calls Spiral, and I believe this is part of a parking garage. Here she says it, in Chicago Airport. And so Grace has a really keen eye for composition, right? So this formal composition, if you look at, this is almost the kind of thing we want to use in a textbook if we were teaching a photography class. Like, how do we find compositions out in the world? We look for, one thing we can look for is repetition. When we see a shape or a form or value repeat again and again, and in this case, it's organized in this kind of pattern way. So you see the curved structure of the street, I guess, or the ramp. That's the word I'm looking for, ramp. Repeated in the foreground on the right, and then you see the additional same ramp in the distance over to the left. And so that's nice when you can find that kind of geometry and find that repetition.
Joshua's summer piece, oil painting, I thought was really beautifully rendered, and really gave the sense of what he says he's trying to achieve with the work of kind of an immersive environment of the feeling of the sounds and that you experience in the summer in kind of a forested area. And just the level of depth achieved here and the details in the foliage is really beautiful, and the texture that achieved as well, of it not just being this flat surface, but you have a little bit of this oh my goodness, can't think of the word at the moment, but impasto kind of.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. The paint is thick, and I'm sure you can see its relief as it's dried. So it stands on there. So nicely done, Joshua. So excuse me, Erin's painting here. that would appear to be a mixed media painting because it looks like some parts of this image are painted and the background looks like found or photographs that have been collaged in there. I can't tell if the pink part is painted or not. I'm not sure, but it appears to be the girl in the foreground holding these these little creatures, and they look like I was going to say like what is it, plush toys or stuffed animals, right? But they look flat, and so probably they're digital characters, right? They're digital characters that come from that realm. I don't believe that they're like meant to be real stuffed animals, physical things, and so it's interesting that there's a combination of the three-dimensional world and the two-dimensional world kind of in one space. But so here she's thinking about a theme, and this theme is the degradation of our environment through pollution and through fossil fuels and all of that stuff, and what that means for young people, right? Because it's the old people will be dead and gone when the trouble happens, and then the young people will sort it all out. And so I think that's what it's implying. I appreciate the qualities of rendering on the child. You can see the texture in her hair. You can see the light and shadow on her face and planes of her face. You can even kind of get a sense of the differences in texture between skin and clothes if I look at her clothing. So there's a good deal of skill there in that rendering, and I appreciate and applaud that you're thinking about themes and want to kind of express your feelings about those things in your work.
This drawing by Gina, Self-Portraits in Quarantine, and exploring the different faces and hidden emotions, as she said, that lie underneath the mask. I like that she's exploring this not only metaphorically, but also the actual covering of our faces, this hidden aspect of kind of parts of our identity a bit through the pandemic, and some of the struggles that have that people have experienced, that those being hidden and not necessarily talked about always, or having, I'm not sure if this was an intention, but that thinking about like what having to kind of keep going on about like things as if everything is normal. It's kind of interesting, this decision between the black and white on one half and then color on the other, and that kind of use of color to emphasize the ideas that she has behind the work.
Oh, okay. I guess that was it. So great. Once again, well done, everyone. For everybody who contributed, please keep it up. Continue to make visual art.
Yeah, this was wonderful. Thank you all for participating and submitting your work. And I encourage you, as Matthew has, to continue doing so. And I look forward to maybe being involved at some point in the future, seeing your work in another location or space.
That was wonderful and so insightful. So thank you to Matthew Watt and Tanya Scott for their insight and their journeying of the exhibition. So next, I'm going to play all of the work. You're going to see all of it in the exhibition. And so I'm going to share my screen here. Thank you, everyone, so much for participating and everyone who's here joining us tonight. Have a terrific evening, and we hope to see you here at Parkland College, either in College for Kids or at the Gertz Gallery. Have a wonderful evening and keep making artwork. Yay! Good night, everybody.